All right, welcome back to the Principal's Note, where we bring real conversations about leadership, school and education leadership. And today we are here with one of the greatest right here. Today we're with Yusuf Muhammad, an award-winning educational leader with more than 2 decades of experience transforming urban schools. He serves as a principal of Phoenix Academy within Atlanta Public Schools, where he leads with a healing-centered philosophy grounded in authentic relationships and belief in every student's potential. He was named 2025 APS Principal of the Year and 2026 SUNY Cortland Distinguished Educator of the Year. He has delivered a TED Talk presented before the U.S. Department of Justice and facilitated workshops for the Wallace Foundation. He is pursuing his EDD in educational leadership at Clark Atlanta University. All right, everyone, let's give a round of applause and a warm welcome to the Yusuf Muhammad.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad to be on.
Yes. So here we are. We want to go and get it started, and Hunter is going to take our first question.
Okay. All right, thank you, Yusuf, for taking time out of your schedule to meet with us this evening. The first question reflects on your leadership identity. We want to know, how has leadership changed you for better or for worse?
Great question. How has leadership changed me for better or for worse? Well, I think leadership has made me change, right? I think in order to become a successful leader, you have to be willing to be reflective and really change who you are. And I think that was the first lesson I learned 14 years ago when I got my first job as a high school principal. Even before that, when I was in training to be a leader, I think I had to really take a step aside and look at me, look at how I'm perceived by others, look at how my actions impact other people. Sometimes when you're just going and you're a leader and you just have ambition, you don't really see the blind spots. So it forced me to take a step back and be open to criticism, being open to feedback, and really about me. So I think change is the big thing. I think leadership has helped me grow in that way. Yeah.
Let's expand on that. Can you share with us some moments or experiences in your 15-year journey in preparation for leadership, and as well as in the leadership role, that can kind of substantiate some of the things that you said in reference to your climb?
I remember clearly. I remember being in Boston University. I was training to become a principal through the New Leaders Program. This is 2011, summer 2011, and about 80 aspiring principals who got into New Leaders. We were all sent to Boston University for a month to train to become a leader. And I remember one specific moment where, you're a teacher and then you go into this space, and I was in a meeting and I was just disengaged, right? I wasn't paying attention. I was just a little bit like, I was 35 years old. I wasn't really into it like I should be into it. And after the meeting, my roommates pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, man, you're not a teacher anymore. You're studying to be a leader. You can't do that. You have to engage in the practice, right? You have to at least pretend like you're engaged. But when you're aloof and you're sitting back and you're just getting information, but not looking like you're part of this process, it comes off like you don't care. It comes off as if you think you're better than everybody else. And we're talking about people coming from across the nation. I'm coming with a certain reputation because I'm from New York City. And so, sometimes we have this thing where we think we're smarter, we're better, we have more swag. And I was told very quickly that that was not the case. And I had to change my perspective and change my approach and my behavior in these meetings in order to be taken seriously as aspiring leaders. That's one example where I had to sit back and say, you know what, you're absolutely right. And because of that feedback, that very next day and for the rest of the month, I was on it. But I was able to take that, and he was telling the absolute truth. So that's just one example of how leadership has forced me to accept criticism and move forward with that criticism.
Wow, because guess what? The next question I had for you was, what did leadership demand from you that no program could have fully prepared you for? You want me to say it again? Because that's powerful.
I think it's a really good question.
Wait. I'm going to read it again.
Really is powerful.
Yes, I'm going to say it again. because I can't wait to hear it. It says, what did leadership demand from you that no program could have fully prepared you for?
It demanded that I
Mm.
look into my own value, my own work, my own character, right? They say when you become a leader, like who you are becomes revealed. You can't hide who you really are in a leadership position. So leadership demanded that I take into account everything about me, the good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the bad.
Yusuf, could you explain or tell me what did leadership demand from you that no program could have fully prepared you for?
So I got a chance to really think about that question. And when I think about it, it really demanded me, it forced me to sit down, right? Leadership forced me to take into account all the things that I thought was important and kind of prioritize in a different kind of way. So, for instance, when I started off, everything was about running your school, having every key to every door in the building, to being a part of every meeting, to running every meeting. I don't know what I was thinking about, but but as years gone by, I've learned that the most important thing I can do as a school leader is to rest, is to take care of myself, is to prioritize my family first, to be home and not be distracted by the work. And that only happened because you get burnt out as a school leader, and you get tired. You have to answer questions every day. You have to make decisions every day. And I've learned over time that there's nothing more important than taking care of yourself and taking care of your family and balancing that work life experience. So I think the work has forced me to sit still a bit and and I became a better leader once I came home and I was with my kids and I was able to recharge. So I think no program has taught me that. No program has taught me how to even use my secretary, right? No one has taught me like that part of the work that's going to sustain you over a long period of time. So I pretty much learned the hard way that I have to disconnect from the work in order to be better at the work.
Oh, wow. Because that other question was, what did that season teach you about yourself
Yeah,
as a leader? Wow. Amazing. Thank you for
thank you.
sharing.
Of
Yes, yes.
course.
Yusuf,
Mhm,
you're known as a servant leader,
mhm,
but real leadership is not always easy.
mhm.
What does servant leadership actually look like in practice when decisions
Mm.
are tough?
Yeah. It looks like putting students first always, and there's a delicate balance, right? Because you hear all the time, you have to feed the adults so they don't eat the children, right? You hear that term over and over again. And I am adult centered, but I'm honestly more student centered. You know, sacrifice. Sometimes adults have to struggle a bit for the sake of the work, and the work is the children. And we can't forget that in this work. At the same time, you have to balance out. You do have to feed the adults. You have to support them. You have to show that you're in the work with them. But it's for the kids, and we can never forget that. So every decision that's made in budget wise comes down to what's best for our students. And I hold on to that. And I think that's important to communicate, to over communicate that. And when you align your mission and vision and the values of your school community to what's best for kids.
Yusuf, man, a lot of people talk about equity. It almost becomes a buzzword nowadays, right? What does it actually look like in day-to-day decisions as a school leader?
It's it's a lot. You're right. It is a buzzword. I think the last 4 or 5 years, you hear equity everywhere. Job interviews. It's become part of the language of education. As a school leader, when I think about equity, I think about just resources, right, that we give to students who may need more, right? It means extra time for students. It means for me, when I think of equity in my current context and the kind of school that I run, it looks like forgiving students, right? It looks like when students behave a certain way, right? Creating a culture where we think about not why they're behaving this way, but what happened to them that allowed them to think this is okay. So that changes the conversation when we look at discipline, when we look at how we treat students, what we believe in. Students don't come to us with a blank slate. They have experiences that are very unfair, right? That's inequitable, right? So if you treat all students the same based on behavior, you're being a school leader who can't make the connection that's necessary to serve the kind of kids we serve, right? So in my school, we talk a lot about forgiveness. We talk a lot about taking a step back and letting students really think about anything they come to the table with and not automatically punishing them or holding them accountable in a way that's punitive. So for me, in my context, having an equity-centered school environment really means getting to know the students deeply, forgiving them and trying to understand where they come from in order to provide the kind of education, love, and support they need to really flourish as a student.
It just looks like he loves SEL too. Looks like he's building relationships.
It's everything. You know, when you walk into my school, the first thing you see is plants, right? And that's on purpose, right? You don't really see many school environments with big, oversized plants. I think that's important to set a tone as students walk into your building, right? You see, in a cafeteria, when kids walk in, we have eye contact and we say hello. You know, how you doing? How was your day? How's your mom doing? Right? How was your weekend? I mean, sometimes people think SEL is this scripted thing, but SEL happens all day, every day in the
It's
school.
real. You better tell him. You better tell him, Yusuf.
Every
Yes.
day. You know, so that relationship, and I work with kids from all the high schools in APS, and they come with a lot, right? But if your mindset is about the kids and trying to understand them and build those relationships, I think that's equity in a powerful form.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, with that being said, why are teachers really leaving? And how does leadership play a role in that?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think there are many answers, right? There are many things to think about. One, you know, I went to through a teaching program, you know, a school where I spent the entire senior year at a school learning how to teach, right? I think that gave me a certain foundation. It was hard, it was difficult, but I had a master teacher for a semester, and then I kind of returned, and I just learned and learned and learned. I don't know, the world changed, right? I don't know if we changed with the world. The teachers that I had growing up are very different than the teachers I see right now. There were teachers who stayed in schools for 20, 25 years, one school. But we have a generation now, and I'm not knocking anyone, but we have a generation where people move, right? Where they say, hey, maybe there's other opportunities. Hey, if I don't feel this, if I don't want to struggle, I'll find something else to do. Where my generation, we kind of expected struggle. We didn't go into the work thinking it was going to be easy. We kind of said, this is the work, this is what we're here for, what we trained for. We stuck with it. So I think part of it is adjusting to this new world. The youth is a little bit different than it was, you know, than they were when I think I was younger. But it's hard work too, right? It's very hard work, you know, to go into a classroom. Kids have so many distractions. My own daughters, I mean, I see it every single day. The cell phone thing really drives people crazy. And we want instant gratification, right? That's the society has built towards an instant gratification kind of model. And so I can't knock teachers who want to leave or kids who have a hard time adjusting when society is really designed to get answers quick, to Google an answer. You know, I was with my daughter recently, and I'm like, there's not an answer you can't get if you go online. I'm still adjusting to that. You know, that you have a question about something, you just get online. Or you want to find out how good a food in a restaurant is. You just get online, look at reviews. We didn't grow up like that. We had to search, we had to fail a little bit, we had to try things out. So I think it's a complex question and it's complex answers. I don't have all the answers, but I think that we have not adjusted as a leadership group to the teachers who are coming into the profession today. And we have to find a middle ground where we can encourage, mentor, support, and to help teachers stick through it. So it's a lot. It's a lot to that question.
So, with that being said, what do leaders often miss before a strong teacher reaches the point of leaving?
I think they missed that mentorship piece. I think they missed the
Mm.
relationship piece, right? I think they miss asking them, how was your day? What do you need? How can I support you? I think they miss maybe checking in with teachers every single day, not assuming that they got it just because they come into work every day. I think they miss really looking at how hard it is to be a teacher today. I've been in this world, in this principal world for now going on 15 years, and I don't know if I would want to teach. And I'll be honest with you, in the environment that teachers have to deal with today, it's a lot that they have to navigate, from families to homes to community violence. There's so much that teachers have to navigate. And I'm not saying we had it easier, but a lot is exposed today that I think was hidden 20 years ago. So I think the answer is always relationships. In my mind, the answer is connecting, and also connecting to the purpose of why they got into this work in the first place. I think in order to get into this work, you have to have a certain mindset. So you have to bring everyone back to the fold to be rooted in the purpose of education.
So, meaning as teachers prepare to be prepared to enter the classroom,
Mhm.
as an administrator, you're interviewing someone.
Yeah.
What is that one skill you think that they must have in order to be that successful teacher that they
Yeah.
may not be prepared for? Or how can that leader prepare them?
It'd have to be reflective.
Mm.
I think that's number one, right? Because I always ask the question about this scenario. I said, if you're a swim coach and you are teaching someone how to swim and that person drowns, who's at fault? So
Wow.
many people will say, hey, the kid should have swam faster. But if you're a coach, you're responsible for that person's ability to swim. But oftentimes we blame the swimmer and we don't blame the coach,
Mm.
right? Can you reflect on your own practice? Like, why do students fail? If you're blaming students and not looking at what you could have done better, right? Maybe I didn't prepare as much. Maybe I didn't ask the right questions. Maybe I didn't contact the parents early enough. Like, what did I do? So the reflection piece is about you.
Yes.
We live in society where we always focus on others. What are others doing? Right. But I think when you shift into focusing on you, then real change happens. So I always ask that question about you. Are you going to let that person swim, or are you going to take accountability for that person drowning?
Yusuf, you did SEL again,
I did.
self-awareness. Come on,
Oh,
come
hey,
on, come
that's a
on.
big one. It's a big one. I think that's what I've learned over
Yes.
the last 15 years. Self-awareness is everything, isn't it? Emotional maturity. It's fighting against the grain where society tells you that you're great, that you can't make mistakes, that we're always celebrating ourselves without being critical of ourselves. And I think when we make that shift, we can really grow as a education.
Oh, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm just talking, but I got to ask you something else. I'm loving this. Can you walk us through a real situation where you were at risk of losing a teacher or teachers, losing the trust or losing momentum, and what you actually did?
Many cases. For one teacher, I remember in one school, I did something that's a little out of the ordinary. I saw that one young teacher was really losing it, was having a hard time in the school, was having conflict with other teachers. I called her and took her to lunch.
Mm.
We went to this pancake place and we just sat down and we just talked. And I remember doing that as a teacher as well. It's weird. As a teacher, when I saw students who were frustrated, I would put them in the back of my classroom and give them something to drink and just gave them time to just unwind. But as a school leader, with this one particular case, we went to my favorite pancake place in Atlanta, and we just talked. And it turns out the teacher was losing her father, and she was his caretaker, right? And a lot of the stuff that she was going through was connected to that work, also with some real frustrations in the school, but she just wanted someone to listen, and we sat, we ate, we talked about not a lot of school stuff, just about life. How are you doing? What's the status of your father? How can I help? And for the most part, I just listen. I asked a few questions and just listen. And I think that taking the principal role and kind of demystifying it and understanding that we're human beings. We're not this title always. When you kind of remove that title, that power that's associated with that title, and become a real human being, I think people can connect with you. And it worked, right? She saw me in a different light, and I'm not just a principal, but I'm someone who genuinely cares about your well-being. And I think that strategies like that, even when I see teachers get into conflict, I say, hey, yeah, go out, go to lunch, please. A few months ago, I took two teachers who were coming at each other, and we went out for lunch and to go eat, and we just talked. I mean, it's one of those things where once you're out the building and you become a real human, you can form those connections and you can support folks. So there's no technical approach. That's a real adaptive approach, thinking outside the box to try to resolve a situation instead of just technical responses.
Wow. Wow, because this also possibly has an impact on student achievement, how the teacher feels. So with that being said, I want to ask you, what are leaders focusing on that does not actually move student achievement, and what should they do instead?
There's a lot that we focus on. I think we focus on the putting out fires instead of building the capacity.
Wow, yes.
Sometimes you can go, and this is veteran principal versus younger principal. My younger self did not understand this, but really empowering folks around you to handle the small things, because sometimes the small things can quickly turn into the big things and can lose your focus, right? So prioritizing is everything, but making sure you have good people around you who can take care of those fires so you can get to the work. Sometimes we go in the morning. Let's say you get to work at 7:30 and it's 3:30 and you got nothing done, but you put out fires. That's not your job. There's people for that, and we have to build a team who can handle those things where the sort of big things come to you and the small things overwhelm you. So I think that's a lot of principals, especially younger principals. I know I did it. Really focus on that
Hustle and bustle,
putting out
moving around.
Yeah, but you get the real work done when you sit still and you prioritize.
Ooh.
Teachers. That's when the real work happens. As a principal, you are a CEO. You're not doing the work as a teacher. And sometimes we get it confused. We wear the same uniform as the teacher, but we have totally different roles. And so once you put yourself in that role, you're making copies or you're doing tasks that CEOs don't do that. So you have to make a shift mentally to understand that you are overseeing the entire building and you can't get caught in the small things.
Wow. It sounds like you just said that you prioritize and protect your peace.
Oh, you have to. I am the master protector of my peace, but it came with struggle and it came with experience. It didn't come automatically. I wish I had someone older more tell me that as a younger principal. I don't send emails after 4 o'clock. I don't send emails on weekends. When I'm home, I am home with my girls. I am not at work. And I think that is one of the things I think younger principals should really hold on to. The work will get done and you'll get better at your work once you're rested and you fulfill the need to be with your family and friends. That's really important to me. And I protect that boundary.
I love it. Ooh, thank you for sharing. Prioritize and protect your peace.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to transition over to leadership preparedness and readiness.
Yes.
And we wanted to get some insight from you as it relates to your beliefs, your philosophies, and your experiences around leadership preparedness.
Yeah.
Therefore, we're going to ask this question: what separates leaders who are qualified from leaders who are actually ready for the role?
Yeah.
And give us some examples of times when you encouraged, supported, and develop people from being qualified to actually ready for leadership positions.
Yeah. Well, there's many job responsibilities, right? You'll see on the application, this is what you're expected to do as a leader. There's a whole list of things. Some people are ready to tackle those things and they still don't make it, right? Some people don't tackle those things, but they make it, right? I think for folks who are prepared to truly become a leader, it's a certain theme that I constantly say, like change, being reflective, I'm really listening. A lot of us get into the role and our egos take over. If you remove your ego as a school leader, you will survive long in this work. Right? Removing your ego means you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but bring people who are smarter than you around you, right? Always ask questions. My first couple of years as a principal, I just got on the phone and I found my mentors and I asked a million questions, especially those who've been doing it much longer than me. But some people don't listen, right? They don't listen and they go through it alone. This is not work that you can go through alone. I think, okay, yeah, so the ability to listen and take feedback and being humble enough to ask questions. I think by design, being a principal in the role and the power that's associated with it, um, it makes you think you're way bigger than you are, right? Because it's your ego is fulfilled. I've been waiting for this. I wanted this. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take over. But if you don't sit still and ask those questions and be humble enough to know that you do not know, that's when real learning takes place. When you realize you don't know everything. I don't care what preparations you had. When you get into the role, it's a totally different world. So I think those who are ready to truly lead are those who are truly ready to listen, to accept feedback, to ask questions. This is community work. This is not individual work. We live in a society that makes everyone think that they have to do it on their own. You cannot do this on your own. You must have mentors, you must have coaching, you must get feedback. And so I think that's the work. Dr. Hunter is not just about getting the title, it's about being reflective enough and humble enough to ask questions and to get a circle, a team, a structure around you, who can really give you feedback when you have those questions. I have people for 15 years I call on when I have questions. My new leaders, classmates, I call on. They're in Texas, Oakland, Boston, Chicago. But when I have a question, I call them and they call me. And I think that's the key to surviving in this role, that community, that collective consciousness. But you have to have a humble demeanor and approach in order to get there. So one example, this just several over the last 15 years. I remember my first year as a principal in New York City. We had an incident that happened where at dismissal, a car ran out of control down the block and hit one of our students. And kids outside, I see the young lady who was hit, and I just put my jacket over her, and we called 911 and took her. Luckily, she survived. Things worked out well, but I sat in my office for hours, and I just didn't know what to do. This is my first year, until I called the veteran principal. I said, "Hey, this happened earlier today. What do I do?" And he told me, "Well, did you call this hotline? Did you fill in this report? These are things that you're supposed to do as soon as something happens." I said, "Oh, I did not know." And so I did that, and I realized that they only give you 1 year as a principal to make those mistakes, right? But after that, you have to know the policies and procedures and the things that are not told in the classroom, not taught in the leadership sessions, right? How to respond to crisis. So for me, having that network of people older than me, more seasoned than me, and be able and being humble enough to reach out to them has led to my longevity, I believe, as a high school principal and leader.
Wow.
Yusuf, we're big. Well, I've been big on leadership development for some time, in supporting people move from the school teacher to the school principal role. Can you talk to us a little bit about your impact and people and experiences that you had developing others and supporting them to be not just like you, but more like you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so my school now is training ground for aspiring principals. I've coached aspiring principals in the Leaders program, in your program at APS, and I think for me, it's let's put yourself out there, right? I might give you some tools, but I want you to read to lead a meeting that I'm going to give you feedback. This is what worked. These are the areas that you can move on, that you can grow in. And so for me, it's providing a platform for people to make mistakes. You learn by surviving mistakes, right? And if I can create an environment in my school where people can make mistakes and learn from them, it sticks with them, And so that's my philosophy around really teaching others. I've been fortunate enough to really mentor individuals to become teachers, to assistant principals, to principals from New York to Atlanta, and it's all through making mistakes. The program that I entered allowed me to fumble, to make mistakes, to struggle. And from that struggle, I learned. So that's my philosophy when it comes to aspiring leaders. So lead a meeting, lead a town hall, I want to see you use data in a meeting and help shift teacher practice from the data you received. I'm going to watch and then I'm going to give you feedback. This is what worked. These are some deltas, some changes that you can make. And then I want to see again. So that cycle of put yourself out there, learn from it, and grow from it is really the approach I take when it comes to developing aspiring leaders. You have to make the mistakes. No one is perfect. And I think that's a humbling piece, but it's also a foundation to learning and sticking with that learning.
That's exciting. We're in the lab. We're in the lab every day with Yusuf.
Every day.
In the lab.
Every day. And if you want to be a leader, you have to be a leader now, right? Don't, if you're a teacher and you have aspirations of being an assistant principal or principal, like go now, right? Practice now, but it takes a humble leader to allow that, you know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have a lot of leaders, I believe, who are more focused on control and power than really truly developing other leaders. And leadership, by definition, is developing other leaders.
Mm, love it. I love it.
Powerful, powerful. So this just is a great segue because you just said about how you got to let them live, let them experience and fail, fumble, and then learn. I want our listeners to continue to slow down, because I know you dropped so many nuggets that I've been taking notes. So I want all of our listeners to take notes as well. And in that process, right, of taking notes, I want you to think about what are some of the things that you've lived, led, and learned, and what is your secret sauce? I mean, you've been an administrator for 15 plus years. So what is your secret sauce for improving a struggling school? Now, it's a 3-part answer because it's a 3-part question. So you might as well get ready to be really interviewed here. So What is your secret sauce? And give us this 360 view. What is one thing you would do at a school leadership level, that higher school level, then level down to the classroom teacher level? What's one thing you would have a leader do at that level? And then come down further and say, what's one thing that you would do as a leader that affects the student at home, so that the whole school is operating at a higher level of efficiency and success?
So I'll start with the top, the school level, and what I've done, right? For me, I truly believe in leadership vulnerability, right? Being very honest and transparent about who I am as a person. I personalize the work. So I'm a father of 4 daughters. Most people know that I lost my wife 9 years ago, and she was the foundation of my educational leadership career, right? Helping me write applications and really believing in my ability to actually lead schools. So I talk about that, you know, and I talk about that in front of my whole faculty and staff. I talk about why this work is important to me. Losing my dad in 5th grade at 11 years old, and having my elementary school principal and my teacher, Mrs. Smith, really wrap their arms around me from literally 5th grade all the way through college, all the way to my first teaching job. So education isn't just a job. It really saved my life in a real profound way. Entering the college I was accepted to, having opportunities to practice leadership there, all the things that make up who I am, I'm very vulnerable and open about that at the top, which leads to why we do the work and why it's so important. So bringing teachers together based on my story, I think is important. Being honest, being transparent, and letting them know that, you know, there's no ego here. We're here to serve kids, right? So as you talk about that at the top level, that connects to your expectations for what adults are going to do in the building, with the culture of the school. Culture is what we do, what we accept, what we do not accept, but it's connected to a story. It's connected to that vulnerable space where everybody has something that they can connect to. So I start there in a very specific way. Listen, this is our handbook. These are the rules and regulations. These are the expectations. This is where we're going. This is the vision. But if it's not connected to something powerful, then what's the point? And everybody has something powerful in them that they can connect to this work. So vulnerability, transparency, that high level communication, that passion, that speech, right? That motivational speech. All those things I think really matter. The technical pieces don't matter as much. People can learn how to teach content, right? We can learn how to be stronger pedagogically. We can learn how to be a better teacher, but you can't learn heart. You can't learn resilience, right? You have to be connected in a passionate way to that. And finding that in every adult in that room, I think is really, really important. So you have to know them, know their history, know what loss they experienced, know why they came to the table. So all of that matters at the top level. It goes back to relationship and connecting with people.
SEL, there you go.
Yeah, it's everything.
So
It's everything.
absolutely. So can you drop down to the teacher and classroom level and then ultimately to the student level?
Yeah, with the teacher level, again, that's being present, right? If you're going to say that you're going to do something, that do it, follow through, right? That builds trust, right? At the teacher level, small wins matter. Right? You don't go in thinking that you're going to have big wins. Big wins is not really a reality, right? It's small wins that build up over time. And when you have small wins, you develop trust with teachers, right? So if we start a meeting at 9 o'clock and we end at 9:45, we're going to start at 9 o'clock. And guess what? We are ending at 9:45, right? I don't play with teachers' time, right? So when they see me model that, it builds trust. So at the teacher level, it's really developing a trusting relationship. Now, I'm not saying it works all the time. You're going to have your naysayers. You're going to have those who are just not going to ride with you, right? But for the majority of the staff, you work tirelessly to develop trust by being on time yourself, by upholding the professional like behaviors you want teachers to uphold, by responding and making sure that you cover those gaps. When you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. So I think that's more behavior wise, showing up, being present, and holding yourselves accountable. So when it's time to hold teachers accountable, it's not, we don't see any difficulty there.
So what about this classroom, the student level, the home level? What, as a leader, can you influence or deal with that for that level to make the school run well?
I'm a little bit different. So when I was at Carver High School, it was a huge transition, right? Coming from New York City to Carver. And I was able to bring some people on, but it was a tough environment. And we did one thing that I think changed the school. We opened a gym on Fridays and play basketball with the kids. There's one thing we did with kids. So we said, hey, you behave right, you go to class on Fridays. I'm gonna be in the gym with you. It was me and a whole bunch of students, and then teachers saw it and they joined us, right? And then it became a community thing where we went and got pizza and wings, and every Friday we were playing basketball, hanging out. The girls would jump double dutch. We just humanized the work. When the teacher and students see this principal trying to play basketball like I was 18, but I'm not anymore, and we have that kind of fun to the work, I think that changed everything. They saw us as humans. We were able also to take kids camping. So all ninth graders, we took 3 days, 2 nights up in LJ, Georgia, and we did leadership development. We did high ropes, low rope activities, and I stayed in a dorm with ninth graders.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. When we got back home, they didn't see me just as Principal Muhammad. They saw me as someone who truly cares about them.
Oh man.
So that I think we missed that in education. Like we're so technical, we so focused on data, and we're so focused on standards, and those things are important. But when you connect with the kids, all those things will happen. Because now they have a reason. They will do well for you if they like you. But you got to create the space where they can like you, right? And so you also have to model that as a principal for the teachers. You can be yourself. You can go in the cafeteria and have lunch with students. You can. You can develop a club where you play games after school with the kids, right? That community work, I believe, helps the school environment at Carver High School. And I think it's something that we remove and we kind of loosen our ties a little bit and become more human, then we can really, really change schools.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I think that's some serious nuggets that we can take. We got time for one more question. And Epps, you want to go on and close us out on this one more question, please?
So I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I want him to respond to it. So are you saying, Yusuf, that if teachers are able to implement those competencies of SEL, building relationships, being self-aware, knowing exactly if they're socially aware, like you took them to the gym, you built relationships with them, that the kids will make more responsible decisions, and that will create an environment that will support student achievement? Is that what you're saying?
I'm going to add to that. When they make teenage decisions that are not right, they can own it and reach out to you for support. Right?
I love it.
There's so many levels to this, but this is something that's not talked about enough. right? We talk about data, we talk about standards, and those things, again, like I said, is important. But there has to be a space. I mean, our kids are coming from a world that, again, foreign to us. Our kids are experiencing community violence in a way that's more visible, that's online, that's present. I mean, they're seeing things that we didn't see as kids. So
I
we
agree.
so if we understand that they're coming into our school with a totally different perspective, our job is to get to know them, to find the commonalities that connect you to them so they can trust you, they can lean on you, and also work for you, but also work for themselves. And I'll add one more component that's really dear to me. They have to be culturally competent themselves and do the work.
Yes.
We have to spend more time in school connecting them to their history, people who are sacrificed for their right to have an education, and also create that level of consciousness. So when they become successful, they become professionals, they become a doctor who serve, people for the right reason. They become lawyers who serve people for the right reason. They don't
Mm.
community. They actually come back home to try to improve their community. I don't think education is simply understanding learning standards and showing mastery of that. It's a level of consciousness to improve the world and community around you that we have to start embedding into our daily practices along with SEL. So I think that's a form of SEL that we have to do better in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What? You are my new SEL brother. Come on.
Let's go.
SEL
Let's
brother. That's what
go.
I'm talking about.
So, but I cannot, I have to add, you have to know your stuff too. There's not many SEL questions in an interview, right? You have to know how to use data to move students, right? You have to
What?
know how to hold teachers accountable. You have to know how to create a culture, of academic achievement in the school, all right? So there are some real technical things and skill sets that you have to know, that you have to learn, you have to practice as a teacher, practice data-driven instruction. So when you get to the interview, you have examples of what you've done, whether it worked or did not work. This is what you learned from this experience. So
Hmm.
I love the SEL, but I cannot act like the other part, the leadership development part. You know,
But wait, Yusuf, look, SEL impacts student achievement. No, no,
I
no,
agree.
no.
I
We
agree.
SEL sisters and brothers, come on now.
I'm
Because
not.
if
I'm
you
not
have that
rolling.
other piece, if you
Yeah,
have the other piece, you know that it's not just about SEL, but SEL is the bloodline that flows through data-driven instruction,
I
that
agree.
flows through teacher performance and student achievement. Come on.
I agree. I agree 100%. When you get to that interview, make sure you talk about both.
Exactly.
So,
There you go.
guys, I mean, we could talk all day. I mean, this has been a really rewarding conversation. Yusuf, we just want to thank you for coming on and spending some time sharing your wisdom and experience with us and all of our listeners out there. I know we've learned some things today, and I thank you for being here with the Principal's Note. And from all of us, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very humbling.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.